I'm going to review my trip to Yellowstone with my Lance 1995 and my Toyota Tundra as my tow vehicle, talk to you about where we stayed, where we would stay next time, and show you some of the beautiful sights we've seen, including review with you where we would stay next time is what I think is one of the most beautiful boondocking sites that you can go to for free on BLM land that's not that hard to find, actually.
There's Lance 1995, there's my Toyota Tundra. If we walk this way, we can see we're just outside of Lake Henry in Island Park, Idaho, about 30 minutes from the west entrance of Yellowstone. We got here, the mountains were completely covered with fog and looked a lot more like that over there. Then it hailed on me about 30 minutes ago, light hail, and it's starting to clear a little bit. It's supposed to clear tonight and be sunny tomorrow. Hopefully a beautiful day at Yellowstone.
Well, this is our view from our campsite at Red Rock RV Park in Island Park, Idaho. What you see there in front of you is mountains that are on the north end of Lake Henry. We're near the south end of it, about 3/4 mile up that road that you see there to the left of the screen. And while it continued to clear here, once we got into Yellowstone National Park, we were actually up at high enough elevation that it began to snow there for the rest of the evening. This was the third week of September 2022. Since the weather was pretty horrible, we decided to go check out the historic Old Faithful Inn, take in the beautiful sights there, and then we went outside on the observation deck where you can watch Yellowstone go off from that deck. But here in the snow, there wasn't a whole lot of great visibility to check out. When we got back to our RV park and to our RV at Red Rock RV Park in Island Park, Idaho, about 25 minutes outside of the west entrance, it was a totally different day with beautiful blue skies and sunshine for the remainder of the evening. Now, we entered the park before 6 a.m. the next day. We wanted to get there early before sunrise, which was at about 7 a.m., so we could get all the way over to the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone before sunrise and check out the viewing areas there. The first thing we did was take a look at the brink of the upper falls here that you see right here. As you can see, we pretty much had the place to ourselves. It was very rare that we encountered other people this early in the morning. As I mentioned earlier, it had snowed the night before, and maybe the cold weather combined with the snow at higher elevation had kept some of the people away, but we really had a lot of these views all to ourselves, including when we went over to Artist Point, where we have this beautiful view with the rising fog from the melting snow combined with what looks like a moving painting to me, and got some really extraordinary pictures that contrast what it looked like later in the day. Within an hour, the view had completely changed and the parking lot became absolutely full. As the fog began to lift, we went and checked out the views over at Inspiration Point before heading over to Hayden Valley and taking in some of the wildlife there. As you see here, and you may hear in the background, the buffalo were irritated with some of the people who were standing in their way as they wanted to cross the road. And if you watch here, there's a truck there stopped waiting for him to pass off to the right. There was another truck that came and just flew right by him, almost really right up to the buffalo. I guess this guy just didn't know the park rules, or was really in a hurry, or just wasn't paying attention and didn't see the buffalo as he was coming right up. From there, we continued on our path up toward the mud pots, and the Dragon's Mouth Spring that you see here on this relatively chilly morning was very entertaining. It actually looked like there might be a dragon living in there. Then we journeyed around the western perimeter of Lake Yellowstone and got some beautiful views of the lake, contrasted by the snow-covered mountains in the background. As it approached lunchtime, we headed back to the Upper Geyser Basin to check out the beautiful springs that were there. Also, we knew that Grand was supposed to go off around 2:00 p.m., and we definitely didn't want to miss Grand Geyser erupt. While we waited for Grand, we got to check out some of the beautiful springs all around the Upper Basin area. While we waited for Grand, we got to see Old Faithful go off in a distance, a little bit clearer than we had the previous day in the middle of the snowstorm. Then, almost at exactly its predicted time, Turbine began to go off, and then Grand began to go off, and what a spectacular show that was, with the two of them going off for a total of about 25 minutes. While those large, predictable geysers were very impressive, some of the smaller geysers that you walk by that just seem to be going off at random are equally as impressive, and you get right up next to them, and you get to watch these little boiling pots of water in this giant caldera that's just amazing. As we headed back from Grand, we stopped at the north side of Old Faithful to watch it go off here against the blue sky, and it was a beautiful display, and we got to see it without all the thousands of other people that are over there on the other side in the observation area. And it also allowed me to get this beautiful picture that you see here with the sun in the background just behind Old Faithful. We left the upper geyser basin and headed to the Fairy Falls parking lot in the lower geyser basin to make the hike to the Grand Prismatic Spring viewing point. Along the way, we did cross the Firehole River, which was beautiful, and there were several springs that we got to see along the way. They were all earlier in the route, and this hike was approximately 1 mile uphill a little bit on the way there and downhill on the way back. We knew we wanted to see Grand Prismatic Spring in the afternoon because in the morning it's covered with a lot of fog. As we returned back to Red Rock RV Park in the early evening, this was our view. It's really a beautiful view. I described it earlier, and I would highly recommend Red Rock RV Park. The people were very helpful and thoughtful. It was very convenient. It was about 25 minutes to the entrance at West Yellowstone, and we were right through West Yellowstone on their way there. Very low traffic on, I believe it's Highway 20 as you head in.
What a difference a day makes. We arrived about 26, 27 hours ago. Had a little hailstorm, cold as heck, unloading, and today not a cloud in the sky. About 60 degrees here, Island Park, Idaho, at the RV park, Red Rock RV Park, and just beautiful. Just over that hill there is Henry's Lake, beautiful lake. So this is our view from Red Rock RV Park. If we look at that mountain right there, and it is a mountain. It's hard to capture that on video, but that is a mountain, and you can kind of see the valley in between and the road that heads down there. That road heads up about 3/4 of a mile or so, and then you're right at Henry's Lake. They're beautiful spots. I'm going to look that up. My understanding is those may be BLM spots. If they are BLM spots, boy, I sure would have liked to have had one of those. I might have done that part of the time we were here, but this has been a great park overall, very friendly. And I talked to them inside. They told me they had so much demand this year at Red Rock RV Park in Island Park, Idaho, that they're actually building on. This park's been here for about 25 years. It's 90 spots. They're adding another 70 pads under construction right now. They told me they had to turn away more than 1,000 people this summer. That's just incredible. But there is some BLM land right up the road here in this direction that we're looking. Also back up the road on our way to Red Rock RV Park off, I think it's US 20, there were several BLM spots, and in the future I might use those for a few days and then come here for a few days just to be somewhat off-grid, as we do really enjoy that. But as you can see, this is just a beautiful setting here, and why Lake Henry right there is commonly known as one of the best stillwater trout fishing spots in the country. Didn't get any chance to do that this time, but if we come back next summer, that'll probably be on the agenda.
So as we look here at the map, we can see that Red Rock RV Park sits just a little bit south of Henry's Lake. It's on Red Rock Pass Road. You turn, if you're heading north, you turn left or west on Red Rock Pass Road to get to Red Rock RV Park. And then there's a small little road that heads up adjacent to the west side of the RV park towards Henry's Lake. And here's where I have mixed feelings sharing this and telling you about it, because if I ever make it back to Yellowstone, this is where I want to stay, and I really don't want it to be crowded. But most of that southern bank of Henry's Lake is indeed BLM land, and you can camp there for up to 14 days. As you can see here on the U.S. Geological Survey map, the area marked in yellow is BLM land. And I'm going to go ahead and put these coordinates up for you too, but it's actually quite easy to get to. The service road that goes back there is very well maintained. A couple of small potholes. There's a boat launch there, and that's all we saw were a couple fishermen that had launched their small boats there. No campers were there when we were there in the 3rd week of September.
So this is Lake Henry right behind Red Rock RV Park in Island Park, Idaho, just outside of West Yellowstone. We're camping in Red Rock RV Park, but we didn't know this was BLM land here. And you can stay right down here on the lake for 14 days. If we ever make it back here, this may be an option.
The next day we got up early again to get to the park before 6 a.m. again, because we wanted to make it over to Mammoth and then through the Lamar Valley to take in the sights there, and the wildlife is always best viewed early in the morning or late in the evening.
And the male elk looking up right over there. Oh, there you go. You hear him calling out.
In Mammoth, the elk could be viewed everywhere, including right out in front of the dining room and lounge here, which seemed kind of fitting since they were grazing.
Whole herd of them crossing right in front of the Tundra.
As we left Mammoth and traveled through Lamar Valley over to the Silvergate entrance, I can tell you that for long periods of time you don't see any signs to know exactly where you are. And if you have a GPS system such as we do with Avenza, and there are some other ones out there, you can track yourself through the park, because with Verizon at least, cell service was quite spotty throughout the park. There were plenty of bison jams through Lamar Valley, and we saw some wolves way off in the distance about, somewhere around 3/4 of a mile away, but nothing we could get great photos of. As we got closer to Silvergate, we did get this other guy walking all by outside the park entrance at Silvergate. We went into this little trading post that had this back room with this incredible display of taxidermy of animals around. It in and of itself was worth it to go in and spend a little money at the trading post, which we gladly did. My biggest regret from this trip was that we were right here in Cook City and we didn't take off toward the Beartooth Highway. It would have been a beautiful day. It had snowed the day earlier up in the mountains. It was beautiful sunshine, but I just didn't think the time was going to work out. But I'll get back. So this was all part of a big trip that included the Badlands National Park, Wind Cave National Park, the Black Hills, both northern and southern Black Hills, as well as Grand Teton National Park. I'm going to have to do another video where I talk about the performance of my Tundra, towing my Lance 1995 and how that all worked on the trip, and another video maybe comparing the Lance 1995 that we have along with the 2375 that we have. Hope you enjoyed this, and stay tuned for more videos.